we are talking all things snow. It may look amazing, but does it actually have a deeper, darker side? Let's find out.
Heal Your Home with Jason Ratcliffe.
Within this week's episode of Heal Your Home, we're going to be talking all things snow and what it can do to your property. And also, of course, are we taking a listener question and a really interesting tenant top tip around snow build-up and what you can do as a tenant to make sure your home is as safe as possible. But let's talk all things snow.
Heal Your Home with Jason Ratcliffe.
So having kids myself, I know that snow can be really exciting, especially as it doesn't happen that often throughout the majority of the UK. But between January and March, trends have shown and continue to show that these are the types of months that are going to be getting quite a lot of snow build-up if you are going to get snow. Now, obviously, it's amazing. You can wake up and you can open the curtains and go, wow, the kids go crazy and everything shuts down, which, that's what this country does. However, what actually is beneath the surface and what do we need to know in regards to our homes and our properties to make sure that we are winter ready, we are snow ready? Well, the biggest issue initially, if you're lucky enough to have a lot of snow where you are, within Cornwall in the southwest, we get a lot of salinity and salts in the air. So a few inches of snow we're lucky to have. But in some cases throughout the UK, we do get several feet of snow. And this can be, especially compressed, can be really, really heavy. Now, this is what's called a dead load onto a property. So basically that means there is a significant amount of weight, because that holds a lot of weight, going onto the roof of your property. Now, if your property is not able to accommodate for that additional stress and weight going down, it can cause structural issues. Now, a lot of modern homes, hopefully, if they're built correctly, should be able to accommodate to this, but a lot of older stock and period properties, things like that, they'll tend to have roofs that aren't necessarily going to be able to deal with the extra strain. So what tends to happen is they'll start fracturing, undulating, buckling, warping, moving, all the things you really don't want in your home. And this can be as simple as one quite significant period of snow flurry, which then melts up on your roof, causing an excessive weight to push down onto that roof, causing quite a big issue, to be honest with you. And whereas it looks lovely and it obviously being well insulated means that if your roof is well insulated, it means that the heat is not going out, so it's not defrosting that snow, which actually from a thermal perspective is really good. However, we then have another problem. The snow isn't going anywhere, it's settling on your roof. What do you do? Well, we can brace roofs, we can re-strengthen them, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. You can get a roofing specialist or a carpenter up into your roof void and strengthen your roof to make sure that it is capable of dealing with those additional loads in winter and through those really snowy periods. I would definitely do this in the summer months, so you're not waiting and trying to patch up things as they come along, because this is when expenses really come out the woodwork. So if you're doing it beforehand, it may cost you a few £100s, but if you're waiting to the last minute and you do it as a reactive response rather than being proactive, it can cost you an awful lot, because it's not then just restructuring or re-strengthening the roof. You're then looking at other potential ramifications such as structural movement. You're then looking at water ingress, because as a building moves, as we all should know, water can get in. There are leaks, there are gaps between components, and therefore water can then find its way in the easiest path into a building. And then not only have you got structural issues, you've then got water ingress issues, damage, potential electrics, then the list can go on and on and on. So really, just to be proactive, go up into your roof void or get somebody to go up, a specialist, and make sure that your roof is sound and structurally okay. That's the biggest issue. But then also, what happens to snow when it melts? Well, it turns into water. So as it then, you've got a huge amount of snow on your roofs. If it then starts melting, which inevitably it will do, you then get a huge volume of water dispersing and being produced on your roof. Now, if you have gutters and rainwater goods on your property, like most properties do in the UK, if there's blocked snow and ice in there, then that water isn't going to be able to get out and discharge off of your roof properly. So then you've got other issues such as what's called overtopping. So that water will then go hit the gutters, go, oh, we can't go anywhere, there's blockages. So it can overtop, potentially go into your property. And again, causes a lot of issues where they don't need to be. So one of the big things to make sure that your guttering system and rainwater goods, your downpipes, etc., are ice-free, snow-free. Clear them the best you can and continue to make sure that they can operate satisfactorily, and make sure they're just clear and the pitches of the gutters are okay, so they're not going the other way opposed to down the downpipes. If you consider it's a gravity-fed system, so it means that water will go towards the ground or towards downwards, basically. So it means that if your guttering system is not pointing towards a downpipe, it's not going towards the downpipe. It's going towards wherever it's pointing, normally to a stop end, so a complete other end where there is no downpipe. Then again, you're going to have an additional problem where you're going to have excessive water that's going to just saturate and build up. And then we can look at overtopping and deteriorating rainwater goods as well, and then water coming back in your property. So it's an easy fix, and it's something that people should just be aware of going forward and just keep on top of these things. It doesn't take a lot of time or money if you keep on top of your rainwater goods and you re-strengthen and you keep maintaining your roof. You should be absolutely fine. Now, obviously, there will be elements of fracturing, cracking, damage from things like hailstorms and really high winds. So you've got to make sure you keep on top of that maintenance, because if you don't, then water again can find its way in, and then you just start having lots of leaks. So again, it's not easy to look at, especially if you've got a lovely thick coat of snow on your roof. So it's always good to have a look in your roof void and see if there's any staining that appears in your roof that wasn't there before. This can be discoloration of the timbers of any chimneys, things like that. That's normally an early sign that something is getting in, and if it's just in very localized spaces, it's unlikely just to be condensation. So you'd probably then want to monitor that and clear off once the roof is cleared. Obviously, then do some patch repairs. Now, also, what else comes within that type of weather? The really cold. Now, once that starts having the sun come out and we start having everything warming up, then that's when we get what's called thermal fluctuations. So that means the temperature of the materials, the pipe work, things like that, can then go from being really cold to being really warm very quickly. And that causes expansion and contraction at different rates depending on the materials you have in your home. So if you have, for example, UPVC windows, and they're going to move at a different rate to the surrounding walls. So therefore, you're going to potentially then have warping and damage occur if they haven't been fitted to account for those types of movements. So it's then about just regular maintenance, checking your windows, checking around your windows, your doors, making sure they still open and close, the pointing around them. So the white kind of mastic or silicone around your windows is intact and is still waterproof, that the ledges, the window sills remain of a good pitch pointing away from the windows to make sure that they're not allowing water to then get back into your property. And then obviously making sure that any outside pipes, whether they are above ground water pipes or sort of vent pipes, anything like that, are not damaged by this, first of all, the snowfall and the significant freezing, but then obviously then the sun beating down, really warming up that property and warming up those materials, which can then cause cracking, fracturing, things like that. So just making sure that everything is okay. And if it's not, making sure that you're getting those repairs done as soon as possible, because if you keep on top of the repairs, to be honest, you're going to be in the best position with your finances that it's not going to run away from you and cause you a bigger issue. And also making sure that your home is thermally efficient. Now, I know this episode of the podcast is not actually about thermal efficiency. We cover that in great detail elsewhere, but it is still important. It is very cold, and also making sure that all of your windows, your doors, your roofs, your walls, your floors, everything is as thermally efficient as your building can allow. This is particularly important, especially going from winter into spring, because everything starts moving, contracting, expanding. So this is another high risk area where things can start going a little bit south and allowing thermal bypass, so allowing heat to escape from the gaps between different components. So it's really good to just get that checked out. If you do know how to do thermographic inspections and you're qualified to do so, then it would be advantageous to actually do that at this time. But also it would be advised to get a contractor in or a surveyor just to look over the building, give it a once over, just to make sure that there's nothing from an expert opinion that is wrong and needs to be remedied, because at the end of the day, it's only going to get worse if you do not deal with the situation.
And now, a listener question for Heal Your Home.
So this episode's listener question is from Derek in Cambridge. Derek has recently purchased a property with a basement and is worried about flooding and about snow build-up and what that can potentially be an issue for in regards to having a basement. He's never had one before. Well, to be honest with you, it's all about management at the end of the day, Derek. It's very much to do with before snow falls, before you get through the rainy periods. Obviously, we're bang smack in the middle of it at the minute. So making sure that the previous owners have had any form of waterproof membranes in, if there's any sump pumps in place so that it can then force water out, pump water out if this is flooded or does become flooded. But also it's to do with the drainage and preventative measures to try and get that water away. If the walls of the basement are waterproofed, and there is a sump in place to then extract that water if it does end up in the basement, then you can have other things like eco drains or French drains around the property to help then percolate and discharge the water away from the property, because then you're reducing the risk of any surface water getting into the basement. And as well as that, making then sure if there's any snowfall, that this is removed around the property, because as mentioned in this topic, in this episode, that as obviously it defrosts, it turns to water, and then you have high volumes of water around your property. So actually being able to remove that before it gets to that point is really critical. Now, after the I suppose winter months, when things start drying out in spring, it would be worth then having a specialist investigate if you don't have any paperwork regarding any tanking and basements waterproof systems and sumps in place, to then look at long-term improvements to make sure that it has the best chance of remaining watertight. I hope that helps, and thank you for listening.
Jason's Tenant Top Tip.
So this week's episode of Heal Your Home, we have a great tenant top tip regarding snowfall and tenants' responsibilities. Now, obviously maintaining the property and ensuring it's safe is a landlord's responsibility. However, a tenant does play a vital role in this, especially within extreme weather conditions such as snow. Now, making sure that pathways are clear of snow and ice to make sure that it is safe for use. Please don't go and put boiling hot water on it, because if this is left, it will then just turn into a sheet of ice. Really not a good idea. So we're looking at then clearing it as safely as possible. You can use appropriate salt material as well to help melt that snow. But also it's about making sure that you're on top of notifying and communicating with your landlord. So if there's any issues, make sure that they are identified and they are expressed to your landlord or letting agent as soon as they are identified, because otherwise, especially in that kind of weather, it can accelerate very quickly. And making sure, obviously, that your heating is working, put your heating on prior to these types of weather conditions to make sure that they're operating correctly. Make sure your hot water is operating. Have a look around, make sure that there's no obvious leaks and things like that in your heating systems, and make sure that your landlord is on top of regular inspections and services, because that's really important to make sure. The last thing you want is your boiler blowing up or going wrong and not working right when the weather kicks in and is harsh, because guess what? Everybody else's boilers are going to be doing the same thing, because every single year there is a massive influx in demand for plumbers and boiler contractors at that time of year. So you really don't want to be stuck without any heating for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's not pleasant. So make sure that you get everything checked prior to the winter months kicking in. And also, if there's any damage caused by the weather, such as chipped windows or broken or fractured pipes, fractured or broken rainwater goods, tiles missing on the roof, make sure that you're reporting those straight away, preferably with photos, to your landlord or letting agent, because then it gives a bigger picture and it allows them to do their job as quickly as possible. So I hope this helps, and stay warm this winter.
Heal your home with Jason Ratcliffe.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. It really does mean a lot to me and my team. Check out the website at homehealthexpert.co.uk for more information, to check out the services that we can help with for you and your family and improve your home's health, and also for the top tip guides that we have available for you. You can submit listener questions through our website and also by emailing our team at info@homehealthexpert.co.uk. We will try our absolute best to get round to your questions and help your family out to improve your home's health. Don't forget to subscribe to Heal Your Home wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube if you're watching along. I look forward to you joining me in the next episode of Heal Your Home. Your health, your future, it all starts here.